Welcome to Master of Science with host Professor James McCanney. The good professor's career spans 50 years as a university teacher, scientist, and engineer. Each week, he will explore the rapidly changing world of science as many long-held theories are crumbling under the weight of new data. He will cover the fields of geology, archaeology, meteorology, oceanography, space science, astronomy, cosmology, biological evolution, virology, energy, mathematics, and more. So please welcome the host of Master of Science, James McCanney.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is episode number 84 in the ongoing series, and tonight I think you're going to enjoy this show. The main science topic I will be talking about tornadoes, the cause of tornadoes, and I have a lot of great footage, so hang in for that. First of all, a few announcements. There's a lot of things in the news I wish I could cover. There's just so many things in the news. First of all, the Artemis mission, the moon effort to put a man around the moon and eventually on the moon has just been shelved. And so I'm not going to waste any more time, but my opinion, professional opinion, being around the space program for, since I was in college, the Apollo programs were going off when I was in college, and the Gemini, following all of this, we had all the manuals for the Apollo program at the college where I went, now university. But this Artemis mission is just not going well. And I mean, they should have been off in 2019. The rocket system is failing. They're still trying to put together the landers. I mean, this project is all over the place. Okay, enough of that. But it's Congress proof. They can't just step down and say, this ain't going to work, boys and girls. Stop it, and let's take this money and put it someplace else. Don't throw good money after bad is an old business adage. If it's not working, if it's broke and you can't fix it, there's an expression. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, this one's broke and you can't fix it. Okay. I've got a photograph here of Jupiter. This came out recently. I think it was the Juno spacecraft. Took a picture of Jupiter's great red spot, and there's a big green spot right at the edge of it. And I did a show, I don't know what number it is. You should go back, by the way, and look at all my shows. Don't just look at this week's show. Take time, go back all the way to 0. It was July 2nd. Yeah, July 2nd, 2024 when this started. So yeah, we're getting into almost a couple of years now. Okay, but anyway, I showed a bunch of photos of Jupiter in the band system and also in the infrared. And that's where you see the fusion between the bands. And the fusion is caused by lightning bolts, energetic lightning bolts, between the counter-rotating bands, which are electrical. And that's the same way as Earth's band. Earth has 5 bands, counter-rotating bands. The mid-hemisphere ones drive our jet streams, and the equatorial one is electron belt that goes westerly. The mid-hemisphere ones are ions, positively charged ions, which go easterly. And then the poles are electrons again, typically. And that's what causes our magnetic field that drives the auroras, all the magnetic effects. Okay. But anyway, on that show, I showed the bands of Jupiter in the infrared. Very nice pictures showing the detail. But this green spot, and of course the green is probably the hydrogen alpha line in this energetic exchange that's going on at the edge of the great red spot. Okay, there's some punch out. The only word I can use is clowns. And these people get a lot of support. They're getting a lot of effort put into their a lot of traction put into their web pages, their YouTube pages. But there's a clown out there, it's unbelievable, has like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and people listen to this. Completely false information. And I don't want to give fame to the website, but they're claiming that upcoming in April, there's a planetary alignment and it's going to be earthquakes and devastation. Everybody's going to die. But no, not at all. Not at all. These are visual alignments, and that is all. And when there are visual alignments, it just happens to be that the planets line up visually, and it has nothing to do with energetic exchanges between the planets. So if you're seeing this, that's a good indicator that whoever you're watching is a crackpot clown. That's the best word I can use. So anyway, imposter charlatans trying to copy, a lot of it is trying to copy my work, and they don't do a very good job. But that's the point, by the way. They're getting a lot of support under the table in their YouTube channels, pushed out, whereas this one is totally shadow banned, completely. Okay, not going to go into that. Remember I mentioned previous shows, Leina Dreams. I don't know if that's a real name. But anyway, she showed a picture of something that was not a moon of Jupiter. There was something that appeared on a photo, only one photo. It was not residue, or it was not just artifact of some kind, camera or lens artifact. And then it was there, no more. So anyway, that's interesting. But she has access to some good telescope equipment and was one of the few amateurs posting actual good material up until a certain point, till her spectrometer broke, which is pretty weird. Anyway, I talked about that before. You can get spectrometers, you can order them and they'll be there the next day. So, but anyway, she claims that 3i Atlas is no longer visible. Well, it's right next to Jupiter, so no, you're not going to see it. Jupiter's going to wash it out completely. Something that small, and it's probably much smaller than at the orbit of Jupiter. It's got to be about probably 20 to 30 miles across for you to actually see the nucleus. But no question about it, 3i Atlas is interacting heavily electrically with Jupiter. Okay. Okay, talking about 3i Atlas, yesterday, the 16th, and by the way, 17th of March, happy St. Patrick's Day, when everybody can be Irish. There's no other holiday quite like it, and of course, being a little bit Irish, it's one of the days when everybody can be Irish, and the Irish are famous for making fun of themselves and being very happy people, in spite of having a pretty rough and tumble history. But at any rate, happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you who can all be like me today. Except a lot of you can't have blue eyes. Sorry. That just comes with the territory. And my ancestors, by the way, were Norwegian, the Vikings that settled in northern and western Ireland. Those are my ancestors. Okay, let's see. Yesterday, the 16th, 3i Atlas, this in the news, it entered the hill zone, and they put this sphere around Jupiter. In my work, my original work going back to the 1970s, I talk about the circle of equal force, which is a much better term because the hill radius makes it sound like Jupiter doesn't affect anything, and then all of a sudden it crosses this magic boundary, and all of a sudden Jupiter's in control and the sun is not. That's not true at all. Jupiter has been affecting the orbit of this little comet for a long time, probably a month and a half easily. And remember that in physics, the gravitational field goes to infinity. Unlike electric fields are shielded and are cut off that's the green, the halo that's around the head of the comet nucleus, the Debye shielding. So electrical forces in nature, in outer space, are shielded, and same with magnetic fields, they're short range. But gravitational fields, and they're so interesting because, say an object is on the far side of the sun, and the sun is between us and that object. The Earth still feels the gravitational field of that object, even though the sun is between us. And so gravity is a very strange force. It's very different than, and a lot of people go, oh, it's a subcomponent or something of electric fields. No, not at all. If it were, then gravity would not work outside of our ionosphere, or satellites would go in real strange orbits and would be constantly changing if gravity were somehow related to electromagnetism, and it's simply not. Okay, but anyway, so we don't know what's going to happen with 3I Atlas. Right now it's interacting certainly electrically with Jupiter. They just discovered alcohol in the tail, and methane, of course. A lot of methane in the region around Jupiter. And so alcohol now, in the formula for alcohol, what is it? C2H6 0 or O, not 0, I'm sorry. C2H6O, so it's 1 oxygen, 6 hydrogen, 2 carbons, and it burns, of course. It's got its own oxidizer built in. It's got at least 1 oxygen there, but they have determined that there was alcohol in the tail of 3I Atlas. Okay, so what is the possibility of this comet coming back into the solar system? It's moving so fast that I think it's pretty limited, but it's really close to Jupiter. So if Jupiter pulls it in, and by the way, there are people out there claiming that it's a spaceship, that the only thing it can be is a spaceship. And these, Avi Loeb is just going great guns out there. He's got his team, his CIA support, what would you call it, like almost like a political party. And of course, NASA is standing in the background, not saying much, and that is being used to drive the one world government. It's all happening under this umbrella of we got to defend the world against the alien invasion. So now, but they're using 3I Atlas as the rollout to justify the financing and the implementation of a one world defense system for outer space. Doggone it, we gotta be ready for those aliens when they come to attack us. We can't let them eat us. I'm sure if the aliens wanted to come and harvest humans for food, they would have done it a long time ago. Anyway, they're probably not carnivorous. Anyway, sorry about going down and wasting showtime on that nonsense. Here's from a listener. This is from a listener. Why is there high carbon content in coal? And I just kind of assumed this when I was talking about the way coal was formed. Was it last week's show? I think it was last week's show. And many other shows I've talked about this. And of course on the radio show, the 25-year-old radio show, I talk about the coal being wet coal, or dirty coal as it's called, with a lot of hydrocarbons, in other words, oil. And then there's dry coal, which has none. And so the way coal forms is there's a tsunami that comes in. It takes up all this plant material and just stacks it up against the side of a mountain range or something like that. And you look at the Appalachian coal fields, they're all packed up on that eastern side, or as far in as Pennsylvania, the coal fields of Pennsylvania, where there's a layer of coal, and then there's gravel, and there's coal, and there's gravel, layered up. So there's many, many events that created the coal fields. And of course, oil was one of the primary places where it was discovered and extracted from the ground was Pennsylvania, Pennzoil. Okay, so the question from the listener, and I never really thought about it. I just assumed that that was, but it's good. This is like a classroom where if somebody asks a question, and I say there's never a stupid question because, you can't assume things as somebody who's teaching. And so if one person asks it, then probably there were a lot of other people that had the same question, but maybe were afraid to ask. But anyway, the question is, why is there so much carbon in coal? And that's, of course, what you burn is the carbon. Well, that's the decayed plant material. So let me go through this process. The big tsunami comes in. The tsunami could come from a comet. A gravitational wave from a comet creates the moon is creating a tide all the time, but it's like little, maybe 10, 15 feet some places in the Bay of Fundy. But a large planet coming by very fast would create this tremendous tsunami, or it could be a tsunami based on, like the Canary Islands, these landslides, or Hawaiian Islands, these landslides that occur from volcanic islands, and then all of a sudden this big tsunami comes across the ocean, just basically sweeps up all this vegetative material like a big bulldozer, slams it against the side of a mountain. But then what happens? Okay, the pressure squeezes the water out. So that's the first thing to go. So now you're left with maybe sand and shale and the carbon. And I still got my little piece of coal here. It's always on my desk. I showed this last week. And you see the fossilized plant material in this coal. And it's like shale. It's like, but anyway. So the water is the first thing to go. So you're left with high carbon content from the plant material. So that's where it comes from. And then if the comet was coming by when this process occurred, then the hydrocarbons come raining in from the comet tail and water, and that oil soaks into the coal, and that's where the dirty coal comes from, the wet coal that has hydrocarbons. The dry coal happens when a tsunami comes in that's not related to a comet, like a landslide or volcanic eruption or something like that. And that's where the dry coal comes from. But the carbon comes from the plant material itself. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so that was, here's the story now. Okay, put on your seatbelt, boys and girls. 2 planets, the astronomers are saying that they were looking out with these great telescopes they have now, and they see a pair of planets out there which collide. Now remember a guy named Immanuel Velikovsky who said that worlds in collision, that was the name of his book. When, and it wasn't literally a collision, it was when Venus the comet came by Earth. According to the ancients, he was studying ancient texts. He wasn't studying astronomy. He was not out to destroy astronomical theory or cause big commotion. But in 1950, Immanuel Velikovsky published a book called Worlds in Collision. It was followed by Ages in Chaos and Earth in Upheaval, I think in the other or opposite order. But Worlds in Collision was first and was selling internationally. And he's the one that first talked about the mastodons in Siberia, flash frozen with the undigested flowers, delicate flowers in their throats, and the meat was preserved, and the Trans-Siberian Railway, the workers were eating the meat, and then they finally had so much of it from these giant mastodons that were flash frozen thousands of, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, that they were shipping it off to Paris as a delicacy. Well, anybody that knows about how meat rots in the sun, these were animals that lived in a semi-tropical environment, and all of a sudden they're flash frozen in Siberia when the Laurentian ice shield covered much of North America. That was the old North Pole. Okay, so anyway, the old North Pole, that's a whole another story. But anyway, astronomers were like, no, worlds cannot collide. The solar system forms and it's stable for 4.5 billion years, and that's where we are today. Well, all of a sudden, the astronomers, somebody must have forgot to tell them about Velikovsky, because they just proved his point that you got two planets that collide, and that was the whole big thing about Hale-Bopp. When Harrington discovered the Planet X under NASA contract in 1989, went back to New Zealand to verify it, and it was on a planet, literally, about 4 times the mass of Earth, literally, that eventually, with a companion, that's how they knew how big it was, that eventually became the nucleus of Hale-Bopp, and they covered that up. The CIA had to run these, remember the cover story, crazy lady talks to aliens, picked May 15, 2003 as the day, which was a day of a big orange-red moon, orange-red moon, full moon. Anyway, what a crazy, crazy time frame. But that nucleus of Hale-Bopp was originally on a very near collision course with planet Earth. And what happened is they didn't understand this, and it erupted into this comet, which was co-discovered by Hale and Bopp, but the CIA already knew about it. They didn't understand this. They thought it was on a very near direct collision course with Earth, about 1 million miles away, which is pretty close to direct collision. And that's why all the misinformation, because they didn't want you, the public, to know about that. I have a whole book that describes the history. It's called Planet X Update 2020, The Real History of Planet X. I talk about all of that if you want to get the true history on that. And but anyway, the idea of planets colliding, Tom Van Flandern is the assistant to Harrington at the Naval Observatory, spent his lifetime discussing that, that the asteroid belt was caused by colliding planets. But he kind of shut up when they got rid of Harrington, his boss. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, in the news this week, astronomers discovered 2 planets had collided in a solar system, distant, of course, but very similar to our own. Very interesting. Let's see. The DART mission, which NASA sent a probe to slam into this asteroid, and it was the companion asteroid, a smaller companion that was orbiting this slightly larger asteroid. And they realize now that when they hit the little one, it actually moved the bigger one. And this is one of the unexpected side effects. They never dreamed of this, but eventually, through observation, realized that when they hit the smaller asteroid that was orbiting the bigger one, they actually made the bigger one move also because of gravitational effects. Let's see. But anyway, that's a terrible solution, trying to hit an asteroid with something to move it off course, or blow it up with a nuclear bomb or something to move it off course. The problem being that we don't have anything big to hit these with, and so a little nudge has to be done years in advance. But the problem is, years in advance, you really don't have good data to know if that thing's really going to hit Earth or not. Remember, they always talk in terms of a percentage. If they talk about an asteroid, they go, in 20 years it has a 0.001% chance of hitting Earth. That's the way they describe it. And so the end result is they really don't know. So it's if you wait too long, then you have to have a much bigger impulse to move it off course. But by the time you're sure where this thing is going to go, it's too late to hit it with something. So it's not a solution. I have a mitigation solution that will really work. Okay, so with those announcements in place, I'm going to talk about tornadoes. Okay, so I'll just do a brief introduction. What I've done is I've captured with my recording system here. I've captured a whole bunch, and most of these are on Facebook. There's these guys, and one name that sticks in my mind, Ricky Forbes, I think, is his name, and he chases tornadoes. What a crazy hobby. But these guys, the closer they get to the tornado, the better. But notice the lightning and the electrical effects whenever you see these tornadoes. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is describe how tornadoes are produced, what's causing them. And the weatherman will try and tell you, oh, that's just two clouds rubbing against each other. No, these are driven by the vertical electric field of Earth. And this goes back to my original work and the work we did with the Russians. I was associated with the Russian atmospheric scientists at the University of Novosibirsk in the mid-1990s. And one of the things they wanted to know is what caused tornadoes, because they had seen tornadoes on the sun 10 years before NASA ever saw them. And so they liked my theoretical work because it explained what caused tornadoes, what causes hurricanes, cyclonic storms, water spouts. And these things just come out of the sky. They're there. And in physics, you need a source of energy. You need a source of energy that produces whatever it is and sustains it. You see these tornadoes running across the ground. And by the way, when I show you these videos, I have the original sound of the people. I didn't just capture the video. I have the sound of all of these, the people talking. They're saying, hey, look at that. And one of the first ones out of the chute is this Michigan tornado that just occurred. Went right down a line of houses. Good grief. And you'll see that. Watch that. Some of these, they'll go right down the power lines because they're grounding out, because those wires are up in the air and they're connecting to that electric field. Okay, so anyway, without further ado, first of all, I'm going to play this. It's going to take about 10, 11 minutes. So just fill up your coffee cup and watch these. And then I'm going to come back and talk about them and do a discussion. But essentially, a cyclonic storm works like this. And watch for this in the videos. Okay, you have the vertical electric field. You have the ground, the physical ground. Or on an ocean where you have water spouts, you have ionized air that's above the ocean. That is the other side of the electrical circuit. And then you have the vertical electric field, which is driven by the solar electric field. All of the power, this Earth doesn't just do this by itself, but it's driven by the solar electric field. Okay, so at any rate, what happens when that discharge starts, the ionized air at the bottom starts going up a column. It finds the easiest path, and when it does, it's the Coriolis force that makes it spin. It makes it spin, and that's what causes the rotating motion. But that energy source has to continue. If you cut off the energy source from a tornado or a hurricane or a waterspout, which is that vertical electric field, if you could just cut it off, that thing would dissipate in a matter of seconds. You know, there's one that has plus 300 mile an hour winds with 6 tornado cyclonic storms rotating around this central one. So they're like dancing around the main central one. Anyway, okay, well, with that, I'm going to start this series of videos. It'll be about 11 minutes, then I'll come back and discuss this. There might be a couple gaps where while the computer was processing, there's a couple gaps in there, and I'm not going to take time to edit them out. I'm just going to let this play through, and then I'll come back and I'll discuss them.
They're everywhere.
Hear that? It's like the ground's humming.
I've never seen anything like it. OMG! Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Holy shit! hope everyone's okay over there. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Holy shit. We better go. Oh my God. Oh my God. It is lifting houses off of the... Holy shit. Oh my God. Oh, my heart is pounding. Oh, I hope they're okay. Oh my God. Holy shit.
This is really, really, really bad. Like, that is...
Oh my, look at the smart car.
It's sliding. It's
off the
sliding. Watch,
ground.
watch.
It just got thrown into the
I'm
field.
slowing
There's
down.
no way. Oh, lightning, my
Tornado's
God.
moving left. We're good. Staying clear.
That tunnel's crossing.
Hold on.
Oh my, look at the smart car.
It's sliding. It's
off the
sliding. Watch,
ground.
watch.
It just got thrown into the
I'm
field.
slowing
There's
down.
no way. Oh, lightning, my
Tornado's
God.
moving left. We're good. Staying clear.
That thing's headed right for the station.
Oh my God, it's tearing the roof!
Look at
It's
all
gonna-
the debris.
Whoa, whoa, holy...
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is very big time.
I know that this is a very violent tornado capable of very bad destruction. It's moving at 50 to 60 miles an hour, incredible forward speed. I know that a multiple vortex tornado like this is capable of speeds even approaching the speed of sound.
Big tornado. Tornado. Look wet. Windmill down.
That has to be near EF5 strand, just because of these wind turbines getting ripped out of the ground.
On the ground, where mobile radars measure wind speed in the tornado. Wind speeds are somewhere between 309 and 318 miles an hour in that tornado. It's a record-breaking tornado because these are some of the highest wind speeds we've just ever seen on Earth.
Oh my God. Oh wow, look at that. The whole sky's just lighting up. It's like a spider web up there. Whoa, do you see that branch? This storm is absolutely enormous. The dome goes all the way to the horizon. Oh my goodness, it's just kicking out bolts everywhere. It's like the sky turned into... Oh wow, look at that. The whole sky's just...
Don't stop there. Don't stop there.
10 power flashes.
Oh my gosh, that's a ton of debris. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but definitely it's something.
Only debris in the air. Oh, just got.
They're everywhere.
Hear that? The ground's humming.
I've never seen anything like it. They're everywhere.
Hear that? It's like the ground's humming.
I've never seen anything like it.
Okay, back again. I want to discuss a few things now. One thing that's very common is they're like with forest fires. This will happen where you have a heat source, so you have that updraft of air, and then you'll get the Coriolis force, but it'll connect. It'll ionize that heat, severe heat of the fire, especially a pretty good sized forest fire. You'll see this. You'll see these spiraling like shoots of flame coming up, especially if there's a tall tree in the fire or something. It catches on fire, especially a pine tree that's really burning hot. And it'll ionize the air above there, and then it'll actually break the electric field, break down the dielectric, which is the air. Air is a great dielectric, and cause the discharge of the vertical electric field, and you'll see a tornado sitting there on top of that tree. The same way with, let me recount a story, same with volcanoes. A lot of times you'll see a volcano. There's a picture I have in one of my books. It's Mount Etna, which has a lot of heat coming out of it, and it's spiraling and has a tornado just coming right on a perfectly blue sky, clear day, no clouds, a tornado coming right out the top. I've talked before about hurricanes and the reason why hurricanes never hit the big island of Hawaii, because the Mauna Loa, the big volcano there, the big active shield volcano, maintains a constant vertical connection, electrical connection with the vertical electric field, and so it has this constant electrical current coming in. So when the hurricanes come in, they are powered by that same vertical electric field. And what happens as the hurricane gets closer, those electric current sheets combine, and so Mauna Loa robs the energy from the hurricane, and the hurricane dissipates. And so the legend, going back to the ancient Hawaiians who were there, 1,000 years ago or more, say that, yeah, the big island of Hawaii has never been hit by a hurricane. And that's the reason why it has never been hit by a hurricane. When I was doing my research there for the X Prize prior to 2018, with the wing generator and the basically extracting water from the air, the there were a number of hurricanes that were threatened the area, but it came around, missed the Big Island, and then went up and did some damage on the other islands. But that's the reason why the hurricanes never hit the Big Island of Hawaii. Okay, so I'll tell a little story here. I was camping when I was younger. I did a lot of camping and traveling in the North Country, let's just put it that way, the Canadian border. And I woke up one morning, I was camping by myself. I spent a lot of time by myself in the wilderness, which helped me, by the way, in my research to have a clear mind and a connection with the universe, with the creator of the universe. But anyway, I get up in the morning and I look across the lake and there's a moose. Okay, so anyway, I see a moose, but anyway, there's like a slight fog on the lake. A slight fog on the lake, and the sun was not up yet, but it was probably about maybe 10 minutes before the sun would come up. And the fog started to rotate. And this clip there was at the very end where you have all these dust devils. If you've ever been in like southern Colorado or out on the western plains and you see these dust devils moving across, they're literally little tornadoes that are, because the wind gets the little vortex going, they connect into the vertical electric field, which is very electrical, it's very, very dry, and starts these dust devils going, and they're electrically driven. But anyway, on the lake, all of a sudden the fog starts spinning, and these little individuals, there must have been 100, maybe 200, and this lake was just like mirror calm. There wasn't a breeze blowing. And they started forming these little circles, and they went around. It looked like a ballet, because they would come close to each other, then they would spin around each other. They never collided. That was very interesting. You know, for a physicist to sit there and watch this happen on a lake and wondering what is causing this. Of course, this is back when I was young, before being involved in everything. So maybe back in maybe the late 60s, early 70s, sometime in that time frame when this happened. And so before I really understood about all of the work that I did. Okay, so anyway, these little, like dust devils, but fog devils, are out there moving around on the lake. And like I say, there were hundreds of them, and as soon as the sun came up, they dissipated. But it was literally like a ballet. You could have had something like Swan Lake or Nutcracker music playing, as these little whirlwinds of fog formed and danced with each other, and then as soon as the sun came up, whoosh, they were gone. Okay, so at any rate, you look at some of these tornadoes. There was a tornado in the upper Midwest that came through the Dakotas, a mile wide base on this, and that was on the ground. And it was on a day with blue sky, and there was a lot of criticism of the Weather Service for not predicting this, but it literally came out of a blue sky. Just another little incident, there was a flood, and these floods have occurred around the country, around the world. All of a sudden there's a flash flood, and all this water comes down. I mean, feet and feet of water per hour. And just, the water just comes down very fast. And if you look at the weather systems, that water did not come in from the ocean or a body of water that's on land or off like the Pacific Ocean or the Gulf of Mexico. That's a lot of times where our water comes from in the weather systems, for snow systems or rain or something like that. It's from warm air bringing that moisture in, and then it comes in and dumps, or it dumps on the west side of the Rocky Mountains, whatever. But in these cases, that amount of water did not come from the typical sources of water. And so literally that came from outer space. So we have all of these interactions going on with the space environment driving our weather system. And I have my book, Principia Meteorologia, The Physics of Sun-Earth Weather, 300 pages, which describes Earth weather and the planetary weather systems, etc. So at any rate, hope that's been informative. And hopefully, I'm going to get away from this covering 3i Atlas. It was very important at the time because it was pushed into the news to the degree that it did, but soon I'll be doing more on Tesla, mathematics, and other topics that I promised to cover in this show. So we'll talk to you next week.
This has been Master of Science with host James McCanney. Join us each week as James will delve into historical figures such as Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, and the great mathematicians as we explore the history of man, Earth, and our universe as you've never seen it before. Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern.